The federal New Democrats plan to make Pharmacare a central issue in the next election if the Liberals do not meet the bar that the opposition party has set for legislation to help reduce the cost of prescription drugs. The confidence and supply deal, which sees the NDP supporting the minority Liberals on key votes in the House of Commons, says the government will introduce a bill to create a framework for national pharmacare this year. NDP members passed an emergency resolution at their policy convention in Hamilton, Ontario, which says that the party should withdraw its support if the Liberals do not commit to a universal, comprehensive, and entirely public pharmacare program. Joining us now to discuss the debate over pharmacare is Meagan Gillmore, a journalist at Canadian Affairs. Ms. Gillmore, thank you very much for joining us on Forum Daily.
Thanks for having me.
In your reporting on this, are you seeing any sense of urgency from the Liberals to get pharmacare done, given that the deadline for it is only 2 months away?
Sure. So we did receive a statement from the Minister of Health's office saying that they are moving forward. They have plans to table legislation by the end of 2023. That's about as specific as they got. They did say that they're in talks with the New Democratic Party, but there were no more specifics on that either. So in the House, if you're just watching question period, watching the House of Commons, you may not hear pharmacare talked about a ton, except when it's people wondering, why are the Liberals and the NDP still in this agreement together? That's some MPs have brought that up in the past few weeks. But I think most of the work that's been going on about this is probably happening behind the scenes, behind closed doors.
Given the time it takes to pass a bill through Parliament and the Senate, is there even enough time to get this done before January 2024?
Right. So I cannot predict the future. All I can say is that there's about 27 sitting days for the House of Commons left, and there's 32 days left for the Senate, and a bill both chambers have to agree to the text of a bill, and there's often committees that study them. So in the past, it does take bills months, if not years, to be made into legislation. We barely even have months left in 2023.
What have Liberal and NDP officials said in response to the shrinking timeline?
Sure. So like I mentioned earlier, the Liberals did tell us that they are in talks with the NDP, that it is their intent to table some form of legislation by the end of this year. The NDP did tell us that they would get us an interview, but then they were unable to do so by deadline and were unable to provide a written statement as well, which means that right now we're left with the information that you pointed out at the beginning of this segment, what happened on the convention floor not too long ago.
In terms of coverage for prescription medicine, how does Canada compare to other countries?
According to the experts I spoke to, among countries in the world that have a universal healthcare system, we are the only one that doesn't have universal pharmacare or the drug care as part of that system. And the Parliamentary Budget Office did release a report last month with their estimates of a pharmacare plan and how much it would cost. And some of the graphs that they present in that report do indicate that Canada spends more on pharmacare. Canadians spend more on drugs than other countries. But among countries with a universal health coverage system, like we have, experts I spoke to and the PBO office would say we are the only country that does not have universal pharmacare.
So how exactly would pharmacare work? Can you explain how it would be different than what we have now?
Sure. So as best I can understand it from the report, the key difference would be that everyone would have the same amount of drug coverage no matter where they are. So right now, each province and territory uses a slightly different, what they call formulary of what drugs are covered in their jurisdiction. A national program would, make that uniform. And the PBO's report from last month, they make their budget projections off of the plan in Quebec. So they're essentially saying, hey, if we use the plan that Quebec uses, this is how much it would cost, this is what it would look like. And then in the details of that report, they do say that under this plan, there would be a $5 cost to Canadians for brand names prescription drugs. There are some exemptions. So, seniors would be exempt from that, pregnant women, people with physical disabilities, like children, that sort of thing. But it's $5 for prescription name brand drugs. But the funding would all be public, and this report does say that this plan would be intended to replace private plans.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.